Welcome to the Holistic Success Show. I'm Elizabeth Capoletti.
And I'm Dr. Robert Puff. Today our guest is an expert on healthy breathing.
Dr. Puff is going to be talking to us about flowing with life, as well as how to live a happy life.
And a question from you about how to have a healthy heart.
Our other question is about trouble sleeping. Thank you so much for joining us, and we hope you enjoy the show.
There was a couple once that I knew that so desperately wanted to have children, and they couldn't have them naturally, so they tried the in vitro process, which is a very challenging and difficult way of having children. And they did it once, they did it twice, they did it a third time, and it's very taxing on the wife. It was just hard for her. They did it a fourth time, and the husband kept pressing and pressing because he didn't want to adopt, he wanted his own children. They did it a fifth time, and then they had triplets. And they got the children that they wanted, but when the triplets came, it was very challenging for them. It was very stressful for the marriage. And they got their goal, but really at a very high price. I haven't kept up with them, but I would be surprised if their marriage ever did very well after that, because his wanting children put so much pressure on her that it really caused her a lot of suffering. Another story is my own. When I was in graduate school, I was applying to another graduate school, and I didn't get in where I wanted to, so I went to this one, and I accepted it. I was all excited, and everything was working out fine. But at the last minute, I mean literally 1 week before school started, they already had my name on the door and everything, but before school started, the school that I wanted to go to accepted me. They had an opening. They said, we accept you. So I went to the dean of my school. I said, this other school, Princeton, accepted me. I'd like to go there, but I've already accepted here. You're already giving me grants and everything. What do you think? And he said, well, that's a very good school. We're going to let you go ahead and go. The next thing I needed money, though. So I contacted Princeton, and they said, we can give you, a full ride scholarship. So because those things fell in place, I let the one go, and within a week I was driving off to the East Coast to go to school. And in life, sometimes there are challenges. Like that couple, they wanted something and they pushed and got it. And my rule was, if everything flowed well, I would go with it. If not, I would have stayed where I was accepted, which was Arizona State University. So I think when life challenges come, you can fight life, which can cause a lot of suffering. Or you can flow with life and saying, this is what I like, this is what I'm going to work towards. But when it doesn't work out, that's okay. And you'll find when you do that is life goes so much better. Flow with life. Don't fight life. You can make things happen by pushing. But if you push so hard, you're going to find that there's a lot of consequences to that. Instead, do your best. Try hard, but do your best. But when there's a no, be okay with that. And say, this is okay. This isn't what I expected. And I'll go with this. And I think if you do that, sometimes, God, the universe will surprise you as it did with me. I was very comfortable going where I had accepted ASU, but when Princeton contacted me, I said, if things work out, I'll go there. And things worked out. So flow with life and see if you don't find it goes better for you too. Peace.
Our first question this week is from Hasina in Suez, Egypt. Lately I've been getting heart palpitations and I'm not in any kind of stress. What do you think it's from?
Hasina, many years ago I ran in the LA Marathon, which is a 26.2 mile run. And there are thousands of runners there running along with me. And runners, in order to do that, have to be very fit. And often they're younger and they're lean. And yet you often hear, and I have known people that are in their 30s, they look great, they exercise like that on a regular basis, and they die. So yes, stress isn't good for your heart, absolutely. But there are other causes of heart problems. And I think it's very important to say, how am I eating? What's going into my body? Because a lot of times that's what's causing it. You have very poor eating habits, and it causes you blockage in your heart. Or you have genetic predisposition. It runs in my family. 2 of my uncles and my grandfather were all dead younger than I am right now. So it isn't, that's the whole point of this show, is being holistic. And when your heart is talking to you, look into it. It may still be stress, because sometimes we aren't aware of our stress, but absolutely look at how you're eating, exercising, and everything all together and saying, how do I make sure this heart of mine, which is speaking to me now, is doing well?
Yes, I think what you were saying is so important. And it's not just what you're doing right now or what you're eating right now, but even the things that you've done in the past and you've eaten in the past. And if you're a smoker or you've smoked, those things all affect you. Now I'm going to go into the other part of it, what, is termed a panic attack. And we first want you to get checked out and make sure that this isn't a heart problem, because we don't want to say it's something else if it could be that. So get yourself checked out. You should be getting checked out regularly anyway, just to make sure all the engines are running great. So, but the other part is, you may consciously feel like you don't have stress in your life, but I haven't met any person who doesn't have any form of stress in their life. Well, maybe a monk, but even then they might have some form of stress. So I encourage you to really take a look at what's going on in your life. Maybe there's been changes, maybe you're working more. Stress can come from anything, even positive things in our life. They can affect us, even moving or getting married or starting a relationship, having a child. Those are kind of some big ones, but we see them as such positive things, which they are, but they can also be very stressful. And sometimes we have a tendency to kind of suppress or push down things that are stressing us in our life and say, oh, I can deal with it. But it does take a toll on us. And I like to say that stress is like toxicity in our body. And if it doesn't come out one way, verbally, or us expressing it in some way, it's gonna affect us. And panic attacks are one way that it can affect us.
It's almost like, I think when you have a problem, you have to be like a scientist and saying, okay, what's causing this? And it could be multiple things. You may want to reduce your stress. You may want to learn to meditate.
We recommend that for everybody.
You may want to eat differently, but you want to just not assume it's one thing. You have to really look at it and say, what's happening here? And then what are, we're big into holistic, what are holistic ways you can proactively make yourself healthy?
And understand what we often talk about the body-mind connection. So it doesn't necessarily mean that it's always coming from emotional stress, but emotional stress can affect you physically.
Contributes to it.
Absolutely. So we encourage you to kind of check into that. Really get your body checked out. And it doesn't have to be, there's all kinds of different doctors that you can go to, internists, alternative medicine. Get yourself checked out because you want to be healthy. Change your diet if you're not eating so good, meditate, and we hope that this will create some positive changes for you. Thank you so much for your question.
Not feeling the way you want to feel, isolated, worried, frustrated, or is your child struggling? There are lots of labels. Our body is a system. It can affect our feelings. Sometimes you need a little help to understand what is happening, to make a plan for improvement, to take control of your body and mind. Insightful Minds, Psychiatry for Children, Adults, and Families. Call us for an appointment or go to insightfulminds.org.
There are hundreds of interventions that claim to help children with autism around the world, but only one is proven to be effective. Pacific Child provides state-of-the-art and evidence-based techniques known as applied behavior analysis. Pacific Child is a leading ABA agency providing services to children and adults with autism. Our high-quality team approaches their work with dedication, caring, and respect. Pacific Child, making a world of difference.
Our guest today is Jane Walker. She is a certified health coach, breathwork practitioner, and founder of Centered Body, Centered Soul. Welcome to the show, Jane.
Thank you for having me.
So can you tell us about breathwork and how it's beneficial?
Sure. Breathwork is based in the ancient yogic practices of pranayama breathwork and the more current rebirthing technique of the 70s. And so it's an active meditation in that it uses a two-part rhythmic breathing pattern to relax the mind, get the oxygen going, and really allow you to get out of your head and into that really calm, relaxed state that you kind of try to achieve in meditation.
So you said two-part breathing pattern. How is that different from our normal breathing? Because I know with most meditation and stuff, like in the taking deep breaths, but how is the two-part different?
It's 2 inhales and 1 exhale, and it's very deep all through the mouth. So whereas some pranayama is all through the nose and even with your yogic poses and whatnot, this is done lying down all through the mouth with 1 big exhale. So it allows the energy centers to open and the energy to really get going and moving and occupy the mind.
And I actually had the opportunity to do this with you a couple of times. We did it at one of our seminars, and it does really do a different kind of experience to your body. I felt the energy kind of moving through my arms and all throughout my body, but it is a lot different. It's kind of, can you maybe show our viewers it's kind of, and then exhale,
Sure.
right?
Sure, it's because the inhale is actually, although it's 2 parts, it's all through the mouth. It's really one movement. It's a so it's low in the belly, high in the chest, and out through the mouth.
Okay.
And you really do this, and you focus your mind on that rhythmic breathing pattern. And what it does is it takes you out of that mind chatter. Especially the Western mind is really good at being occupied and not just going, hey, I want to go do my grocery list.
So would that be the main benefit of that, would you say? Is there any other benefits to the breathing, or that you feel like kind of ties into how it's different?
Well, the benefits are that you do have to focus on that. So it gives your mind something to do. And you want to be able to really focus on that and allow yourself to relax at the same time. And believe it or not, you can actually do that. The other benefit is that it gets the energy centers opened up, the energy moving throughout the body, oxygenating, which we really don't breathe. We all breathe very shallowly. We breathe from up here. And so this allows you to get really deep and move stuck energy, both emotional, physical, and mental even.
Yeah, and I can attest to that too, because even seeing where people have these emotional breakdowns kind of, well, I shouldn't say breakdown, but they start crying in the middle of it. And I saw that kind of happen. Is that a common thing that happens for people that do this?
Yeah, it is. And it's because, and as you know, as a body worker, we hold a lot of things in different places in our body, whether it be our muscles, our skeletal system, organs even. And so this allows that to get released, because it opens all that all way up.
Which is a very powerful thing, because I think here in our culture, we think the body and mind as 2 separate entities, but they're very much intertwined. So when a trauma happens to us emotionally, we carry it, and that's why some of the stuff brings that up. And not to say that that's going to happen for everybody, because that didn't happen for me. It was it was a wonderful experience, and I'm sure it was for everybody else too. But if you're wanting to work through some things, it can actually help facilitate that process, right?
Absolutely. It's very good at helping, no matter what other therapies you might be doing, to work through and move some of that energy and emotions and let them come out and release that, so that you can actually heal, and your other therapies will help you.
And we're all about that. So why don't you talk to us about how you got into this and how it has changed your life?
Sure. I was actually studying for my holistic health coaching certification and ran into a colleague that said, and I was very stressful too, being a mom of a teenager and working and trying to study, so you need to try this practice. So I took to it like a fish to water. It was amazing, and it really transformed my life. So I said, no, I have to know how to facilitate and do this, because I know that this can help a lot of people. And so I've worked it into my holistic health coaching practice, and it has benefited people tremendously. Again, just moving them through things faster than anything that I've ever had people do before.
Now, I know you also do a lot of work with nutrition, so can you talk to us about how that ties in with everything else that you do?
Sure. Again, the number one nutrient we all need is oxygen. You can live without food for a little bit if you don't like it, but air, a little different story. So you really want it, so it makes you do that and breathe and oxygenate your brain and your organs. And so I also, in my nutrition practice and working with people in transitioning to healthier lifestyles, I encourage them to eat an alkaline diet.
And what does that mean? So I know there's a lot of people that may not know what that.
It means eating a lot of greens, and again, it means getting that oxygen and chlorophyll into your system. And the breath work really enhances that practice, as well as just, again, a very whole body, whole mind practice that I use as well. So body, mind, spirit, kind of connecting everything. And so the breath work, along with diet and nutrition, can really tie that all together.
And I understand, for those of you out there that are maybe hearing the word alkaline for the first time, that foods that are really high in acid, or just when we have a lot of acid in our body, that creates disease. That's kind of what disease and illness feeds off of.
Right.
So what are some things that people might be eating that are high in acids? Not to say that's bad for them to eat, but you need to have a balance, correct?
Sure. people eat a lot of, even it can even be fruit, but a lot of your really sugar in general. Certainly your refined sugars, your refined grains, all of those are really, they're high in acid, and so you really want to balance it with your dark leafy greens and your lettuces and your kales and things that people maybe aren't used to eating, but you can work it into your diet, believe it or not. And so, you know, again, in a nutshell, your junk food.
That's a hard one to let go of, but once you start cleaning out your system, you really notice a difference when you put it back in.
Yeah.
And it's toxic for our body. And so what you're saying is the balance of everything, and that's really what our show is about, is the holistic approach, taking everything. And what you're saying is, let's piece the meditation in with getting air into your body, into your mind, into every part of you,
Right.
and let's adjust your nutritional habits too, because you can't just ignore that. We'd like to, but
It's a lot easier if I thought we could.
it is. Who would be a good candidate for breath work, and how would somebody out there just kind of start to begin doing this, begin the process of it?
Great question. Actually, anyone is a candidate, from children to the elderly. Anyone can do breath work. The benefit is that it really enables you to just stress relief. Just let off a little bit. You don't have to do it for very long necessarily, or you can do it for 45 minutes to an hour. And the biggest factor really is the stress release and the moving through some just stuff you've been holding on to and allowing you to clear your mind, get yourself out of the day-to-day rat race and the mind chatter that we have.
And I know we all have that, and that gets in the way of a lot of us healing and growing in many ways that we can, whether it's weight that we struggle with, or depression, or anxiety, or whatever it may be, right?
Right.
So, and I understand that you offer classes and workshops for this as well, right?
I do. The classes and workshops, since it's a very experiential practice, this meditation, it's really nice to do it if you can find a group or a class to come to and just give it a shot and see if it's for you. But you don't need that. You can actually do this at home on your own for, like I said, 10 or 15 minutes a day. Set a timer, set some really nice music that you like, and go through that on your own. It's not difficult, and you don't have to go somewhere for it.
Well, thank you so much for being a guest on our show. And if people would like to get a hold of you with questions, or perhaps attend one of your classes, how can they do that?
I can be contacted through my website. All my information is there, and any questions you might have, feel free to contact me and I'll get back with you.
And what is your website?
www.centered-life.com.
Thank you so much for being a guest on our show.
Thank you.
Clonia cava. This superfood from the ocean's antioxidant force is much greater than anything grown on land's humic nutrients. Considered the essence of life, it's what helps plants grow naturally, has been shown to have incredible potential immune-enhancing properties. Aloe vera has been used for health and medicinal purposes. With 75 nutritional components, this unique lily plant is one of the most efficient delivery systems of nutrients into the bloodstream.
Are you or someone you love struggling with depression, anger, or anxiety? Have you suffered a loss, or are you struggling to keep your relationship alive? Do you have a child or a teen who needs help? You don't have to face it alone. We are here to help you create the change you need in your life to be happy again. Visit us at www.ocmentalhealthexperts.com for more information.
Stem cells play a vital role in our body's ability to heal, but become less effective as we get older. StemKine is a daily supplement that has been clinically proven to increase stem cell circulation. Research has shown that circulating stem cells boost our ability to prevent or recover from injury, disease, or chronic conditions. Your stem cells can help you repair, restore, and regenerate. StemKine is an all-natural supplement proven to enhance your stem cells' activity and thereby improve your health.
How to Live a Positive Life, available at www.holistichealth.tv.
There's a man I know, he lives in a monastery. He's lived there most of his life. And to describe him is like, oh my goodness, he's one of the most gentle, beautiful souls I've ever met in my entire life. He's just filled with bliss, with happiness, with just peace and tranquility. He's a very healthy human being. And to look at him, you'd realize, okay, well, his environment's very safe. He's a very quiet individual. He's surrounded by a beautiful, environment because he lives in a monastery, and he reads and he really studies and explores spirituality on an ongoing basis. And it has made him into a beautiful human being. Now, how does that relate to us? Our happiness is in direct correlation to what's feeding our soul. If we are feeding our soul junk food, unhealthy stuff, we are going to be unhealthy. We're going to not be happy. And you may, at the instance, it's like having candy. Right now this may taste good, but later it's going to make you sick and not feel very good. So, like this gentle man, if we feed our soul beautiful things throughout the day, then what will happen is we will slowly start becoming more like him. Our experiences will be more peaceful, more gentle, more wonderful. And it's two parts to it. We feed our soul in two ways. One is externally. And what I mean is that you go to a movie, and I experience this all the time. If I go to movies that have negative images, if they're dark, if they're hurting people, I walk out feeling like I've been slimed. It's like, ugh. If I go to something that's beautiful, that's really wonderful, has a good message in it, I walk out feeling good. And so what is feeding your soul externally? Friendships, music you listen to, your work, those things feed you. But the second most important thing is your mind. What is your mind feeding you all day long? I knew this man. I knew he really understood what life was all about and was very gentle towards himself and loved himself and who he was. If we are gentle and loving towards ourselves, we too can have the same experience that he had. But we have to be aware of what's feeding our soul. What's feeding it externally, what's feeding it internally. And if we start changing what feeds us externally and what is feeding it internally through our mind, our life will begin to change too. But if you can see it as, I want to have a beautiful life, then I need to proactively make sure that everything in my life reflects that. Everything in my life is participating in my own experience. And if you can think of like someone in a monastery and how there's so many beautiful things coming to them all day long, and yet they are very healthy, create your life in such a way too, that everything coming in and going through here is beautiful. And what you'll find is peace and love will come. Peace.
Our second question is from Ricardo in Lima, Peru. I've been experiencing frightening nightmares while I sleep at night and awake in a sweat, sometimes twice in one night. Why could this be occurring?
Ricardo, first I want to say I'm sorry. Night terrors are awful. They're terrible to have to live with. And I just want to reach out to you with my heart, saying I'm really sorry you're going through this. But let's take a look at it. What could it be? I believe what it probably is something inside of you needs some healing. It needs some airing out. So what I mean by that, if you get a cut, when that cut's there, you have to air it out, cleanse it, and then it gets better. It's the same way emotionally. When there's something inside of you needing to come out, if it isn't let out, it will cause you suffering. For example, I knew a woman once who had something very similar to you. She saw this red monster, kept trying to get her all the time. And finally, her and I worked together on it, and what we figured out was she was younger as a child. She'd forgotten this, but her uncle one time took a cigar and burned her with it, and it really was a horrible experience for her, and what it had transformed into this red monster. So it's important to say, okay, what could be causing this? And don't be critical, just look at it and say, then, once you find out what it is, go ahead and work through the process of healing it.
Earlier in this episode, I was talking about how our emotions, if we don't deal with them in an appropriate way, can be like toxins in our body. If we don't get them out, if we don't air them out, as Dr. Puff was talking about, kind of cleansing them, it will seep out in one way or another. And sometimes the way that comes out is in our dreams. And you can even see that with children. And I know it's like, okay, well, as I get older, I shouldn't have that. But I don't know any adult who hasn't had nightmares. This happens. But sometimes it can be from movies that we watch, from stressful things that we experience. And you'll notice that the things that happen in our day-to-day life, even movies or things that we see, they somehow end up in our dreams. And so if you have this stuff that's going on, something is affecting you, and I really strongly encourage you to check it out. And as Dr. Puff was mentioning earlier about visualizations of things, perhaps it can be a recurring dream that you're having, or as this person that he was talking about, sometimes it can even be something that people see while they're awake, so they kind of have hallucinations of things that are really scary to them, and that is a huge red flag that something's going on and something really needs to be dealt with. So one way that you can do that is through getting some psychotherapy of your own, so going to a therapist and talking through some of these things, decreasing your stress, and meditation, which Dr. Puff will talk a little bit about with you now.
Well, the beauty in meditation is what it does is it allows this crazy mind of yours to be still. And so in the stillness, you can really look at what's going on inside of here. But when you have constant distractions, you never get to figure out what's going on inside.
Which we often do when we've had traumas in our life or we have stressful things. We want to shut it off because we don't want to deal with it. And sometimes in meditation, stuff can come up for you where you start to cry or you start to become aware of things.
But the beautiful thing I love about meditation, it typically comes up naturally. It comes up in a way that you can handle it as long as you just keep being committed. I'm going to heal this. Don't be critical, but say, I need to heal this. I'm going to take time healing this. We've talked about healing in other episodes, but it's important to take time and heal.
Yes, and perhaps try journaling about your dreams so you can have more information about what's going on too. Thank you so much, and we hope that these tips will help you have a pleasant night's sleep.
Co-hosts of the Holistic Success Show, Dr. Puff and Elizabeth Lozano, MA, want to teach you how to live a meditative life. Learn to still your mind, diminish negative thinking, experience peace and bliss, and be 100% present in the moment. Retreats provide a unique opportunity to learn new skills, meet new people, and interact with Elizabeth Lozano and Dr. Puff. For information or reservations for upcoming retreats, please visit holisticretreats.tv. Expand your capacity for joyful living today.
Tranquility and peace. Find freedom and relaxation no matter where you are or who you're with. Be still. Be free. Meditation for Health and Happiness, available at www.holistichealth.tv.
A quote that I would like to share with you to take through your day and hopefully through your life is by Richard Fuller. There is nothing in a caterpillar that tells you it's going to be a butterfly. So what are you capable of becoming? Thank you for joining us on the Holistic Success Show. If you'd like to receive our weekly newsletter, please subscribe at www.holistichealth.tv.
And if you have a company or organization and would like to learn more about our speaking services, please visit our website for more information.
Thank you so much for joining us, and we hope you have a wonderful week.